One. Hello, everybody. This is episode 3 of Walking Purpose from Uplift Kings. I am the CEO, Craig Cooper. I'm here with a great friend of mine, amazing man, John. Before we start, John, you want to tell the audience about yourself?
Yeah, by all means, and thank you, Craig. It's an honor to be here with you. Been super excited about this
Appreciate
conversation that we're going to have.
that.
But yeah, my name is John Eli. I'm a mindset coach, and really, what I do is I help men navigate through life during the detours of life. We all experience different detours in life. We have an expected destination, and sometimes we just find ourselves at a standstill. And really what I do is I help men climb out of their mess and move back forward towards their destiny. That's my mission.
That's amazing, because I feel like I was at a standstill before this pandemic and all this happened. And I'm working like 12, 13, 14 hours a day. I didn't really have time to create anything new, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
So just working out one day, just got the idea of just creating Uplift Kings. So like having the mindset of that free time, creating your new ideas is amazing. You never know how life can take you.
Absolutely. There's this thought process. Well, in positive psychology, there's a lot of talk about post-traumatic stress, but there's also positive psychology teaches us that we can have post-traumatic growth. And even when we go through seasons of challenge, just like this, most of us won't talk about this COVID situation being something that's traumatic, but it has wreaked havoc on many aspects of our life.
Yeah.
And we have a choice. We can either allow it to turn to stress, or we can convert that energy and turn it into growth. And I'm glad to hear that you've been using it for your own personal growth.
Yeah, that's an amazing point, because I really feel like if a person doesn't come out of this pandemic situation, or at least one thing, at least you did something amazing. It's been, 15, 16 weeks? The idea is to come up with something. All this free time we got, call your loved ones, or check on your friends, or that new relationship, something like this is like the best time in the world to build right now.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. So we get started. My first question is, what's your mindset on what's going on in America as far as, God, there's so much going on. You got COVID-19. This year has been crazy, crazy already. You got Kobe, you got COVID-19, you got the guy who's supposed to be a leader. I'm not going to say his name, but you
I hear you.
Tension with racial issues as far as the cops and this, and what's your mindset going on right now currently?
Man, it's been a roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the best way that I can describe it, is that it's been a roller coaster from it seems just one thing to another. And my mindset in the midst of this is that I know I can either, I try to suppress the way that I feel and ignore the fact that we're going through difficult times, or I can give myself permission to say, hey, John, you're human, and this is really impacting you. And what do you want to do about this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm powerless about certain things. Like, for example, if it was up to me, I'd snap my fingers and, COVID and racism would disappear.
Yes.
But that's not my reality, right? That's just not the way it works. But what am I going to do with what I have in, that has been given to me?
Mm-hmm.
Like you, I've used my extra time to help, strengthen some relationships that maybe weren't estranged, but that I had let go to the wayside. So I've been in communication, and I've been building my business. I've been doing different things. One of the best places the best things that I believe that I can do on a personal basis that I love doing to help combat racism is at my kitchen table. I love to sit down and have conversation, just to live life together with people, and not to bring my agenda to anyone's life, but to actually just be real and do life together with people, and to learn, just like I'm learning from you right now and experiencing life and immersed in your greatness, what makes you you. My kitchen table's closed right now because of everything that's going on. Yeah. But man, I'm having conversations like this one. I'm speaking up on platforms that have been made available to me. you know, so I'm continuing conversation and just holding space for others to feel as well, because everybody's experience during this season is different.
Yeah,
And
sure.
it's a
Yeah,
challenge.
it really is. It really is a challenge because it's like you're like you're in a roller coaster pretty much. Because if it ain't one thing, it's another. You really have to. What I learned also is to limit my social media. As far as Facebook, I post what I can in the morning, and I get off for like a good 4 or 5 hours, and I just go on my day. That way, my mind ain't going, oh my gosh, this. It got to the point where this is happening. I almost posted an angry video.
Yeah.
I was in damn near tears, like so frustrated what's going on, and I'm glad I didn't. I had to take a minute to calm down, pretty much, and to like scale it back and okay, ask myself what can I do to not make it better in the long run. Hopefully, I can contribute that in some kind of way, whether it's doing interviews with a lot of people with different races and understanding certain things, or whether it's contacting my friends and have better understanding, and also educate myself.
Yeah.
Because there's still a lot of things we don't know about history, and I don't want to just be angry, just spewing stuff out and not being correct, So definitely this is the time I feel like to scale back and to work on yourself and contact your friends and a lot of different things.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just, what I learned is just take it like literally one day at a time.
Yeah.
Even if it's 1 second at a time, pretty much.
Absolutely. No, I think one of the greatest gifts that we can give ourselves as a human during this time, as a human being, is that we have to give ourselves the ability to breathe. Not just to breathe with intentionality. We can't control the circumstance around us, but we can control whether we're going to take the next breath. And one good breath deserves another. And sometimes all you can do in any given moment, especially whenever you're hearing the stupidity and foolishness of certain individuals, is just to breathe.
Yeah, I learned that too. Just to take a deep breath and just step back. Even as far as social media, I delete certain people. It's instead of arguing with them and going back and forth and giving that energy, and it's kind of shocking. Like, dang, you really find out who people really are.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
I don't know why I was shocked. To be honest, it's kind of like you have this blind innocence in a sense.
Yeah.
Because like the generation before us went through worse things and seen worse things, and this looks like stuff that would be in the history books. So having people with certain opinions and going back and forth, and I say, you know what, I'm not going to argue with you. It's pointless. I'm just going to just remove you from my social media. Just to save that. Okay, you have your opinion. That's fine.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just be respectful. So yeah, definitely. I agree with everything you're saying. So my next question is, what steps do you think to take far as make the situation in America better, far as even as it's like the smallest steps, far as education people, far as getting together with different groups, far as anything, in your opinion, like what steps you think to take that can make it better?
I think that we as human beings, we need to own our narrative.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have to be effective, to create a space of healing, to create a place of forward movement. We have to really own where we're at in life. And that includes the good and the bad. There's some times that we're, especially during the season of life, that we might recognize that we don't know all that we thought that we knew. It doesn't make us a horrible human being, but it just means that we lack awareness. And at different points in our life, we're going to lack different levels of awareness. We're going to not have all the knowledge that we need. And that's why we as a human race have to come collectively to teach one another. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not a big sports fan or anything like that. I had no idea who Kaepernick was until the day that he decided to kneel. And I grew up in a small border town where there wasn't much diversity. And so I was living in a new city. I was living in the Phoenix area. And and I didn't understand everything. And I had a coworker share something with me, and that was like the first thing. Like for me, uh, you might think I'm foolish for this, but for me, BLM was Bureau of Land Management because I lived out in the middle of nowhere in a farm. And
Okay.
whenever I had a friend just sit down and just share with me her heart, like what was going on and how it was affecting her and her family. And it was like the first time that I had really sat down and listened to somebody else's experience. I had seen other things, but it made me want to know more. And
Yeah.
I realized in that moment that there was a lack of awareness on my side, on my point. And it caused me just not just to want to know something about it, but to want to speak up, to
Yeah.
want to partner, to want to show empathy, and to try to be part of the solution.
Yeah. I definitely understand where you come from as far as like education yourself pretty much, because there are certain things that I've realized like I didn't know that existed. And there are certain things that happen in the history books. I'm like, wait a minute. Unfortunately, it kind of makes sense how things are happening now. And I feel like it's been happening so long. And I feel like that the only difference is we got camera phones. You know, like this stuff has been happening, unfortunately. And it's crazy because it makes me want to research a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
About ancestors, about America, about Columbus, like certain things about them tearing statues down, why they tear it down, so like instead of, I want to make sure that whenever I'm speaking out on something that I'm knowledgeable,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Definitely understand you on that. It just makes sense to be aware of what's going on, especially what's going on in front of your face. A lot of things they're doing blatantly, it's really, it's to the point where you can see it.
Absolutely.
First it was a little hidden with other presidents, but this guy is just like, I don't get it. Damn.
It's in your face.
Yeah.
And it's painful to watch.
It really is. It's just it's so frustrating to watch because even I feel like if he took a stand and said, you know what, I made a mistake. I'm sorry for what I did. Let's all come together. That would help the country out in so many ways. Like, where's our leadership?
Absolutely.
If you're like, look, I don't care what race you are, what gender, what you celebrate, your religion, all this, let's all come together. I really feel like we all need to come together in this issue. We can all help each other. If he just said that, and he's like, you know what? It makes sense. Instead of having, you got this side, you got that side, it's just, we all need to come together.
Absolutely.
It's like we got to do it without their leadership, which is so
Absolutely.
frustrating. And when you go to vote, you're like, it's either, I'm not too excited about that guy, but anybody's better than that guy. I want to at least have a good choice for once.
I hear you, man. You're preaching to the choir right now.
Yeah, it's like you're a kid and you be like, you want broccoli or Brussels sprouts? Pizza. That's how it feels. I'm like, I'm not that excited.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I hear you. I hear you. So my background is psychology. I have a master's of science in psychology. Mm-hmm. And one of the things about when we study emotionally intelligent people, they incorporate 4 things. They have self-awareness. And whenever someone has self-awareness, they're able to manage themselves. So there's self-awareness and self-management. Mm-hmm. But someone who has emotional intelligence, a high level of emotional intelligence, will also have social awareness, mm-hmm. and they'll be able to master relationship management. But there is such a lack of those 4 things in society today. People are not aware of themselves. They don't own where they're at, or they're scared. One of the crazy things that I've seen on some of the social media platforms that I manage is people who have made racial comments, or they've made a statement without realizing how racially charged it was.
Yeah.
And if I question, or if I make a response and I point out, can you clarify what you meant by this?
Yeah.
I've had people straight out tell me, you just called me a racist. And I never have said that, but rather I pointed out their behavior. They're able to reflect that behavior in another individual is racist behavior. But whenever they see it in themselves, they justify it.
Yeah.
So there's a lack of self-awareness. And because they're unaware, they can't self-manage. And without self-awareness, they can never have social awareness.
Wow.
And without social awareness, relationships with people of, you know, the opposite race, of a different race, of a different belief system, of a different type of culture, it's just never going to happen because they were never fully self-aware to begin with.
Good point. The way you broke that down explains a lot for people with social media. There are certain people I see, I'm like, why did you say that? You didn't think that would offend somebody? If I know something's going to offend somebody, I'm not going to say it. And I feel like sometimes people just, what's on your mind? You know what Facebook says. They just, and they're like, why did you say that? And you got the angry face. I'm not a racist. What you're saying is a racist. You don't have to be, you don't have to blurt out and say, I hate this race or that race. Your actions can say that. Or what you say can say that. Or the way you approach your post or something like that. I feel like I feel like people should be smart enough to know, like, let me not say that right now. Let me not post that meme right now. That's the wrong time to say stuff like that. Let me not post a meme of someone kneeling down someone's neck. Maybe that's not the smartest thing to do right now. You know, and the way you broke that down explains so much of what I've seen from social media. I'm like, this person, what's wrong with them? Let me just delete them.
Yeah.
Like you think we have common sense, like, you know what? Let me not do that.
I'm originally from the state of New Mexico. I lived there for 32 years, the first 32 years of my life. I'm from New Mexico. Part of our history in New Mexico is the conquistadores that came from Spain, and they literally tortured and committed a mass genocide to the Native Americans. They just killed them off in the 1600s. It was a horrible, we have a very bloody history in the state of New Mexico. And I saw a conversation that was taking place this morning where there's a high school in my hometown called Oñate High School. It's named after one of the conquistadores, one of the Spanish leaders that came in and literally annihilated Native American people. In one instance, he's known for, there's a pueblo, a Native American tribe called the Okeowinge. And he took about 500 males and chopped off their foot just to leave them named and leave them as servants. And so it's this horrible, bloody story, and there's a high school named after it. And they've considered recently changing the name of the high school because it's named after this guy who committed mass genocide. You know, it was just horrible. Yeah. And the comments underneath the post were like, oh no, I hope they don't change the name of the high school because then I'll have to order my son a new Letterman's jacket. Or, oh no, one of my son graduated from Oñate High School. I would hate to have to like order new stuff like to support his team now that I have all the Oñate gear and everything. But just the whole narrative of people being more concerned about a Letterman's jacket and, you know, the, what do you call it, fan regalia, than the narrative of a man who committed mass murder is ridiculous. And people don't even realize what they're communicating. There's a lack of self-awareness.
Great point. Even like football, like the Washington Redskins, my favorite team. And I was like, yo, that made me think, like change the name. It's offensive. Somebody need to research, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And people are like, then the name need to change. And I'm like, yeah, they're right. It is offensive. You know, it's just simple like that. I even have a picture behind me. My favorite football team. It's like, there's certain things that you will think even certain companies, when you name a football team or name your company, you should be aware of certain things. Even if your fans don't know what it is. Like, you should be aware, you know, or at least care a little bit. You know,
Absolutely.
yeah.
There's this whole movement that came out recently where Uncle Ben's, Aunt Jemima, and I can't remember the cream of wheat dude's name, but they're
Yeah,
changing it.
yeah. I ate some pancakes today, and
I never ate cream of wheat. I just seen the picture of the
yeah,
dude.
I never realized that.
But yeah, but
Yeah,
I saw some people on social media, in their mind and their mentality is how ridiculous it was that they were erasing these individuals' names and identity because Aunt Jemima was actually a real lady. Her real name was Nancy, but they marketed it after her. But what people don't realize is how they have benefited from the stereotype that was placed over these marketing ads. I saw an original marketing ad for the cream of wheat guy where all the English words were misspelt, and it was made to seem as if this black individual was uneducated. What do you think that did to the black race? It made them seem, it created a stereotype where other people were able to elevate themselves above that. So what people need to realize is that they have benefited from this systematic racism that has been seen as a joke for so long.
yeah,
It's not something they're being made fun of.
and that's so blatant in your face. I actually did some research on the Aunt Jemima like yesterday, and I was like, goodness, and as a kid, that's all you know, as a kid, a black man, that's all I ate was the best serve. I'm like, I see why they're changing it, but I feel like sometimes, in a sense, like certain companies are like, they're saying like, we support this just out of, I don't want to lose my money, you know.
Starbucks.
Exactly. Starbucks is, I never ate Starbucks before. I don't really, you know, and Starbucks is like, okay, wait a minute. Let me just say, I care about y'all. I need y'all money.
Yeah,
and
pretty much.
The biggest thing is money.
Yeah.
And that's so unfortunate. You can tell like your favorite celebrities who's not speaking out and who just, let me just say this just so I can get that dollar bill pretty much, which is so unfortunate.
Yeah.
It's crazy. This could be like an hour-long conversation on that.
Sorry, man. I went off on a rant.
No, it's cool. It's cool. I enjoy it. So I don't mind doing like part 2, part 3, because we got so much to talk about. My next question was, have you ever faced any like a mental illness, as far as like depression, suicide, or any like setback that were holding you down like years ago in your life?
So there's been 2 major crises in my life. One of them, whenever I first graduated high school. I graduated high school when I was 17 years old. Until about 20 years old, I can take a look back and I know that I was clinically depressed. But my upbringing, I had a very religious upbringing, and going and seeing a counselor or going and dealing with anything that was deemed as a mental illness was seen as a sign of spiritual weakness. So I went through a lot and never spoke to anybody. And then also, Craig, I face planted 4 years ago. I hit a very low point in my life. I was not happy. And I haven't been like, I wasn't diagnosed as being clinically depressed, but I was definitely in a funk. I couldn't climb myself out. And I was like, enough of this. I hired a counselor, and without the help of a counselor, I wouldn't be where I'm at today.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to both scenarios what you just said, and probably around the same time. I don't know if you're the same age. I'm 34, and
I'm much older than you.
But I remember when I was 16, 17, graduating high school, and I didn't know what I want to do in my life.
Yeah.
And that is the scariest thing in the world for a male, probably female too, of course, but and not having that plan, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? And I just felt like that deep depression, like I don't know what, I don't see what I'm doing. I done tried some college courses, like this ain't for me. And I feel you on that part. You know, if you fall in like a deep depression. I done had a senior therapist, and I feel like that didn't work in a sense. I knew it was something what I was going through, and I couldn't understand what it was at the time.
Yeah.
But the further I get from it, And the more I hear other people tell their story, and the more I share my story, the more I was like, yo, I was really in the funk. And so I can definitely relate to what you're talking about, as far as like you feel like you're in that slump and like, how am I going to climb out of this? You know, and you feel like it's a black cloud over your head.
You know, in my situation is I experienced a lot of trauma in my childhood, and it was a lot of things I just didn't talk about. And there were some adults that should have protected me as a child, and whenever they found out, they didn't know how to deal with it. So in their own way, they dealt with it, but it left me unprotected. And so I was just abused over and over and over again. And so by the time I hit high school, I knew that something wasn't right. Like, that shouldn't have happened in my life.
Right.
And it really just messed with me and made me feel like less of a man. It made me feel like just confused about a million things and my purpose in life, of, you know, even like spirituality. I talked about being raised in a religious home, the spiritual aspect of it, like, where was God in the midst of all of this? And so I was 17 years old. I moved away from my hometown, just an hour away, to go to New Mexico State University. And I was stuck there with nothing but my thoughts. Mm-hmm. And I hated what I saw myself becoming. I saw people who had been through similar things that I had, and that I knew that had happened to them, the people that I knew, and people that were addicted to drugs, people that were just extremely promiscuous, like making a lot of bad choices. And like, I have one friend that in 1 year ended up becoming a father of 3 children with 3 different women, and just like things that I saw, and I'm like, I don't want any of this. I don't want that to be my narrative. The best thing that I can do for anybody is just to end my life. And so I was at that point, and I remember the day that I acted. I knew I had to make a decision.
Okay.
And I still wasn't seeing a counselor. I wasn't like doing any of that. But I just remember just getting down on my knees one day and just saying, you know what, God, today I choose to live. And I don't know what that's going to look like.
Wow.
I don't know what is, what I have to do to make this happen, but I choose life. And I really believe that it was that choice that I made that day that helped empower me. 4 years ago, I face planted on my, just went through a really dark time, and I finally had the opportunity to work on all those things that I should have been working on all that time ago. I'm very grateful that I didn't enter that place of darkness once again, where I felt like taking my own life. But I do count it a blessing that I'm alive here today.
I commend you on just making the right choice, you know, and being here today. It takes a strong individual to climb out of it, you know, to realize, like, God help me, I'm in this place. How do I get out of it? And that's amazing. That ties into my next question. Like, what strategies did you use to climb out of depression? Like, as you got yourself together, pretty much. Like, what did you do?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I've already mentioned counseling. I'm a firm believer in counseling. I had myself a counselor. I had myself a coach. That empowered me.
Okay.
But 4 years ago, I ended up in a place where I didn't want to be separated from my wife. And I knew that my way of coping with my stressors they had led me to a bundle of bad habits. And so I came clean. A part of my journey is I'm actually an ordained minister. And there was things that I was doing that I knew that wasn't right. First of all, there's a lot of people that turned to me for, as a moral compass. And I knew that there was things that were out of alignment in my life. And I was living a double standard life. So what I did was I called up 8 of my friends. I called up 8 men that I knew and that I was close to, that admired me, that had mentored me, and that thought I was living a perfect life. And I just confessed everything to them. I said, this is where I'm at. This is what I'm doing. Some of them chose to continue walking my life with me. Some of them chose to walk away. But what it did was the ones that remained, it created a tribe of strength, men that I could rely on, men that would love me through the process, but were willing to slap me upside the head if they found me doing something stupid.
Yeah.
And I'd be nothing without that that group of men that has, you know, shown me what a true friend is all about.
Yeah, that is amazing. There's like a stigma with us men that we can't talk about our feelings, or talk about your feelings make you weak. And
Absolutely.
I can definitely relate to the part where you're saying having that group of men who really hold you down, who's not your yes man, pretty much, will tell you like, look, bro, like you need, I got you, or you can, and somebody that you can be raw with, and you can tell them, look, hey, I'm going through this, can you help me out? And there is no judgment, and that does make you stronger, and the next person stronger too. Is the same situation with me. I got that same strong circle I got to this day that helped me 10 years ago. I can call it, hey, bro, I need you. Like, it's
Absolutely.
okay. And the biggest thing is with some men who are probably going through this right now, maybe looking at this video, like, man, who do I talk to? Like, it makes me weak. Like, no, you're not weak for saying how you feel.
You know,
I'd rather have somebody tell me how they feel than attend their funeral. You know,
absolutely.
you know,
That is huge. Yeah.
yeah, because that is because you be like, dang, why he say nothing? Because all it takes is that one last moment, like, hey, I got you. And what I noticed is from my own personal situation, when I was going through suicide and I was standing in front of a mirror getting off myself, my mom called me. And I feel like in some cases, you kind of want someone to be like, hey, I got you. It's okay for a male to be like, I got you, bro. I love you.
Absolutely.
There's nothing wrong with that. And to like, I'm
Absolutely.
so happy that you got that circle. I'm so happy you got
Absolutely.
that. That's amazing.
You know, I think you just mentioned that, like, you know, having a friend say I love you, and I think that it's actually, I don't think, I know it's something that comes along with the stigma. There's so many men that are uncomfortable hearing the words I love you from another man,
Mhm.
and but yet they know deep inside that's something that they long to hear, because many people did not hear like I love you from a parent. There's a lot of absent fathers, and there's a lot of, I've encountered a lot of men through my coaching practice that have just longed to hear that, and just know that there's another dude rooting in the corner rooting for them, and they matter. And
Yeah.
you'd be amazed how healing that is for somebody. I'm part of a men's group called Everyman. We meet every Wednesday, and that's like my circle of dudes that I hang out with, and it's cool, man. We have some people there that are like, you know, these like huge macho guys, and we have a doctor there. We have a couple of doctors. We have you know, someone that works construction. We're all uh, you know, different walks of life, but like one of my best feelings on is on Wednesday night. Like whenever I see them, I know that they're there for me. I know they speak life into me, and I give them a hug. It's huge, and that's something I didn't get growing up. So I shamelessly, that's been the biggest struggle of quarantine is I haven't had like a good solid hug, and I'll shamelessly say I'm a hugger. That's part of my love language and what I exert here into this world.
I can share something personal, right?
Yeah,
Because it goes along
definitely.
with what we just talking about. The first time I shared my story about depression last year on stage, right?
Hmm.
And my dad posted a 10. He couldn't make it because he had to work. We didn't have a relationship up until the age I was 31. So that's 3 years, right?
Wow.
So I'm in the car. I never forget this. I get chills just thinking about this. My mom is in the driver's seat. My fiance is behind me, sitting behind me. My
Hmm.
dad calls me, says, son, I love you. I'm proud of you. And I never heard that before.
Wow.
So as a man, yeah, you have your girlfriend, your wife, but you still
Yeah,
need that male love too, and there's nothing wrong with that.
absolutely, dude.
And my dad was like, I'm coming by to give you a hug. And my dad hugged me. We're talking about it. So my dad hugged me for the first time and kissed me on my cheek saying, son, I love you. And
Oh,
I feel like that was like, yeah, yeah,
heck
pretty much.
yeah.
I was
Heck
like,
yeah.
oh, that felt good. That's like, you know what? When I have my kids, I'm gonna teach my son, hey, son, I love you. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Heck
Or
yeah,
my
dude.
friends, hey, bro, I love you. You never know, you might not see that person the next day, you know. So
Yeah,
you never know what those three words will mean to somebody. Like, I need to hear that, yo. And
absolutely.
this conversation and what we're talking about right now is a lot of men need that. It's okay to be like, bro, I love you. Bro, you need something. Man, come here, man. You good? Instead of being
Definitely.
like, why are you saying you love me? What's wrong with you? Nah, it's just internet stigma, pretty much, you know. So
Yeah.
definitely feel what you're saying, 1,000%.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. Thanks for sharing that story, man. That's huge. And
Yeah,
there's people that need to hear that, man.
man, that's amazing. So we're talking about as far as like, you know, um, depression and recovering. One thing I feel like when you're recover from depression, you learn yourself.
Hmm.
As far as like your self-love journey, pretty much. Next question is, how important is self-love to you, in your opinion?
Man, it is huge. It is absolutely huge. I tell you, I grew up in the church, and one of the biggest things that I was taught was that I was to love my neighbor as myself. And bro, I've had a crazy life. I've done some things that are, well, when I say crazy, not like dangerous crazy, but like I did some things I wonder why in the world did I do them.
Mhm.
At the age of 21, I became a foster parent,
Okay.
and I was a single guy working with adolescent males who had
Hmm.
just gotten released from detention and they needed to be reintegrated back to their homes. And I found myself that was the best way that I could serve. I was going to show love to the community, to the world, and I became a pastor at the age of 23. And I was serving people. I was wanting to love others, love my neighbor as myself.
Hmm.
But the issue that I had, the challenge that I had, is that it's impossible to love your neighbor as yourself whenever you don't love yourself.
Yeah.
Whenever you lack self-love, you're going to fail.
Hmm.
And so I was trying to, even like my relationship with my wife, trying to love my wife without loving myself. And so what would end up happening is that my love tank would end up empty and I had nothing to give my wife, and I was failing miserably as a husband and as a community leader. And so yeah, man, you just can't do it without self-love, man. You got to learn how to appreciate yourself.
Yeah. That's an amazing point because I really find in relationships, you pouring into somebody, you know, and you're empty. They're like, okay, I got mine. And they walk away. You're like, wait a minute, what's about me? And what I learned is you pour into them, they pour into you. And like that, if you value yourself, you learn to what you're not going to accept also.
Absolutely.
As far as your friends, as far as relationships, as far as anything. Like, you know what, I ain't taking this crap from nobody. And it's not saying like you the biggest tough person in the world, but you love yourself. If you can't love
Absolutely.
yourself, you can't give that love to the next person. So that's an amazing point about that self love. I'm still learning that, to be honest with
Absolutely.
you. And this quarantine has really taught me to spend time with myself, you know, to have that, okay, you know what, I'm all right. Yeah. I'm a good speaker. I'm just realizing this, you know. I'm doing good at this and doing good at that. And they take time to get to know yourself because your self love journey never stops.
Absolutely.
And that's one thing I learned also. And what you're saying is amazing. It's so true.
Yeah, man.
My next question was, I feel like you already answered as far as like how important is your circle is in your life.
Yeah. I'd be nothing without my tribe, man. I'm grateful for the man that I feel that God has divinely placed in my life.
Uh-huh.
There's been a lot of people that have walked away, and I used to be the kind of person that, like, whenever somebody would walk away, I would be I like want to get revenge or something. Especially if there was no closure, you don't know why they walked away. It's like, what the heck, like I didn't do nothing to you. So, like, where I'm at right now in my life is I'm a firm believer that you will divinely have every person that you need to have in your life at any given moment. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's going to be a multitude, and sometimes the season of life requires for you to be alone. But
Great.
during those moments that I'm surrounded by people, like the way that I am right now, I'm celebrating it, and
Yeah,
I'm living it up, and I'm embracing it. I'm
that's
embracing
amazing.
whenever people, and it's crazy because I really feel like I've been able to make some amazing connections, like even globally throughout this pandemic. Like I've been able to connect with you. There's my friend Zach from Into the Dark Blue. We had a great, fun conversation last night. There's this guy Owen from Manco Wellbeing that like I'm speaking to on a regular basis, and who are sowing goodness and life into me, in spite of not being physically present with one another.
Yeah, and that's amazing to have like a kind of like a new circle, pretty much. I'm like, oh, this is cool. And I feel like everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
I feel like in a sense, some kind of weird way, I feel like the world needed a reset.
Absolutely.
The world needed a pause for a minute. Everybody's busy, everybody's tired, everybody's frustrated, your kids getting on your nerves, your wife getting on your nerves, whatever the case may be. If that's the case, it's like the world needs a reset.
Yeah.
And take advantage. Because soon as this goes back to the norm, we're like, dang, I wish I'd have done this. I wish I would have done this. So like to take advantage of that new circle. Everything has for a reason. It's that a new drive, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah.
So glad we met. Seriously.
Definitely, man.
Mhm.
I'm in agreement with that.
So in closing, my last question is: we get up in the morning. Let's say you're brushing your teeth, looking in the mirror, you're looking at yourself. What motivates you?
What motivates me?
Yes.
My purpose. Yeah, so I can't get this out. Whenever you know who you are, you'll know what to do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there was such a long period of my life that I knew who and what everybody wanted me to be, but I didn't know myself. And, I've been able to be on this journey of just discovering myself and knowing my strengths, knowing what I'm able to exert into this world, just allows me to be me, and it makes me want to live.
Yeah.
Like even like this conversation, we've been talking about having this conversation for a few weeks now, but like as the day gets closer, you've been like sending me messages, sending me a voice message. And this is the question I'm going to ask, and I'm completely motivated because I know that what I have to share is coming from my heart, coming from who I am. And man, I've been ready for this moment since the moment I woke up this morning, because I am walking in my purpose, sharing the message that I know that I was created to give. So my purpose.
That's an amazing feeling, which is exactly why I thought my name Walking Purpose. Like you know your purpose. It's people who get up in the morning and don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like don't know, like I'm gonna live for the day and that's it. Us, we don't know what that's like. We got a purpose to live by. We got a purpose to go by. We got a goal to accomplish. And especially us taking advantage of this opportunity, like, okay, I'm gonna do this. Yeah. I got this goal, and it feels good to know who you are, pretty much.
Absolutely.
And one thing I learned also is just like, I feel like for me also, I feel like when you first put yourself out there a little bit, you're kind of worried about what people think. So you're kind of like, I shouldn't say this. I shouldn't. Now you're like, no, I don't care. Don't care. If you don't like it, that's fine. I'm not for you, and that's okay. And to have that amazing feeling like you're walking your purpose, it's kind of like you got tunnel vision. Like tunnel vision. Every day you get up in the morning, you got tunnel vision.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely, you have thoughts. You'll always have thoughts that will come to your mind, but you know that you don't have to entertain every thought, because that isn't what you're living for.
Yeah, that's amazing. Before we wrap this up, you want to tell your audience any advice as far as motivation, where to find you at, as far as your social media, what you got going on?
Yeah, my biggest word of advice is find a good conversation and partner with it. I know you got a good conversation going in on your profile. I can just imagine what it's like, being around you in physical proximity. Find a good conversation, a healthy conversation, and be part of it. They can find you, on your profile. You can find me at the.john.eli on Instagram. And if you're ready for a journey, I have an 8-week program where I help individuals encounter their true, authentic self, their identity, where they begin to identify and create a vision for their life. They begin to see themselves outside their mess, and where you identify and expose and get rid of the beliefs that have been holding you back, and you begin to identify and implement the beliefs and the practices you need to get to the place where you desire to be. So know that I'm always open for a conversation. Slide into my DMs, and we'll start talking about life and get you moving forward.
Amazing. I really appreciate you coming on. Me and my guest. This was amazing. Honestly, I've been looking for this conversation all day. I was excited because I know it's going to be easy because we both got good energy. Let's work together again in the future. Anything you got going on, and feel free to be like, hey, I need your help. I'm definitely down.
Definitely. Likewise, brother.
Yeah,
Appreciate you, and I appreciate your presence in this world. All right.
appreciate you.
All right.
Let's not repeat.